Welcome, little one. This is your first day. Your designation will be RP-01/138. We expect great things from you. You have been born into dangerous times. A sharp mind can be the key to survival. But as often as not, it will be your inherent physical traits that win the day. And in this regard, you will be superior to your more common brethren. For you are a commando, an elite unit, something truly special. Your weapons, your armor, and most importantly, your brothers.
All right, men. Listen up.
Delta Squad, form up.
Forming up, boss.
What up, my fellow Republic Commandos? We are live in a galaxy far, far away in a bat cave somewhere. I am your host, Trey, and as always, I have to bring in the co-host who apparently stole my show last night and turned it into the Super Bro channel. And you know what? I'm not mad about it. It was actually a really, really good show. He did a whole non-spoiler Black Adam review because I'm seeing it today with my little Zoa.
Side. There we go.
Let's
Let's
go
see,
ahead.
Let's see that Black Adam there, big fella.
You want to see that? There you go. There you go. Go see Black Adam, people. I hear it's fire. According to Corey's no spoiler review, everyone had the mid to high 8s. What's up?
You are a pineapple coconut.
I'm a pineapple coconut. Hurtful.
Yeah.
Almost as hurtful as Batan banning me for my own
Dude,
show.
that was fire last night, man. The show was fantastic. It was absolutely great. We had a lot of great guests on. Taladia, Marcus, and of course Batan. And there may have been a time for those in the chat who haven't watched that, definitely catch the rewatch because maybe at some point Trey got banned from his own show.
I did. I got timed out, and I didn't even say anything mean. I think my last comment was like supporting you. Like Corey's doing such a great job, and then boom.
Super supportive. And Bad Dad was like, "Oh, he doesn't have a wrench next to his name. Should I ban him?" I'm like, "We can ban Trey."
He was like, "Yeah, go ahead."
It reminded me of Even Stevens.
Yeah, gotcha on your own show. He even changed my Twitter account, my Instagram, like my Facebook. Like, what else are you gonna take from me today, Corey? But you're not gonna take Delta Squad, because Delta Squad is not for me. It's for our fire panel. But guys, to help support the Delta Squad stream, please smash that like. Oh, am I frozen right now? Or are you not moving? Oh. Thank you, Corey. Because Corey's not moving, I was thinking I was frozen here for a second. You're not even blinking. Are we moving here? All right, what just happened? Corey, are you messing with me? I can't tell all right, now you're laughing. Anyways, good grief. Smash that like, share this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and follow us on our social media pages like TikTok, Instagram, Twitter at @the_Bat Channel. If you're still on Facebook, you can hang out with us over there at Holy Bat Channel. And just reach out to us. Let us know what you guys want us to talk about in the future, some shows that you're really digging, or just some theories you have about the shows we're covering now, or Easter eggs we might have missed. We'd love to hear from you guys. But let's not waste any more time, Super Bro. Let's go ahead and bring in our fire panel. Oh my gosh, Corey, you're frozen in the background and I hate it. Just you're screwing with me this entire time. You know what? Anyways, I'm gonna ban you in 5 seconds. Anyways, let's just go ahead and bring in our fire panel. You know him as Mr. Orc and Beans. You know what? Let's go ahead and bring in our other amazing panelist. You've seen her on our recent show with doing our little. Oh God! See, now that you guys have frozen yourselves, my brain is just like, what is going on?
What is going on?
What is going on? We're just gonna bring her in. She is amazing. We had her on for the first time on the Bat Channel recently, and it was just a complete blast talking about all the DC news lately. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Miss Retro Nerd Girl.
Hello there.
What's up, Retro?
Yes. I love that clip.
The best part is I don't have to worry about, well, I guess I would never know if Retro was, connection dropped or if my connection dropped, because, it's just her profile icon. But how you doing, Retro?
Really good. I'm in good spirits and glad to be on this show. And thank you for inviting me.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on. It was so cool to have you for our DC show recently. Was that Wednesday or Thursday? I don't even remember anymore. I think it was Wednesday. But yeah, it was just a great time to finally have you on here. And I've noticed that you've been watching Andor, and it seems like, what's your general thoughts on the Andor series so far for those who haven't seen you on our Delta Squad stream before?
Oh, I mean, I love it. I mean, it is a completely different tone from anything that is Star Wars related. It's so grounded, and I feel like I'm really a part of the galaxy. And so I don't know, I'm loving it. I really am. And I know it's a hard series for people to really like, because the tone is so different. It's the pacing is slower, and there's not a whole lot of action. There's no mysticism in it. but I think, and we're so far away from the main characters of Star Wars. No Skywalkers in sight. But it is very much, I know for me, something I've always wanted. I've always wanted to know more about why the galaxy has been in the state that it's been, and how the citizens feel about what's going on, why the rebellion is happening. And this really gives you a ground zero of what's wrong with the imperial rule. You know.
Yeah. Wonderful points all around. And just like you said, we've seen like in the animated show with Star Wars Rebels, we kind of saw the rebels like already pretty much established. And this we're really seeing the birth of it. Out of curiosity, and everyone can answer this if you guys would like. Do you think Obi-Wan Kenobi maybe, how do I want to put this? Do you think Obi-Wan Kenobi essentially, because that came out just before Andor, that it didn't set people up for Andor to take it so easily, because it is very un-Star Wars like? It's almost more of a Blade Runner show than it is Star Wars. And I feel like Obi-Wan Kenobi was very much a Star Wars, prequel style tone show. Do you think that having that and then moving to something as complex and complicated and mature as Andor is really threw people off?
I think it's a good idea. I think because they're so different, I feel like if it was just like Obi-Wan, people would get bored of it earlier and faster and would stop watching, because it's like, well, I just watched this with Obi-Wan. And so the fact that it is so different, it's keeping people interested in wanting to keep watching the show, because it's not so Star Wars, because they just got done watching a super Star Wars show.
Absolutely. How about you, Retro? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I can only really speak from my perspective. As far as I know, they're saying that the show is getting low ratings, which I don't know why it's not appealing to everyone. But for myself, I enjoyed both of these shows. I'm loving it. I'm feasting right now, and I know for a lot of people they didn't like Kenobi, and they don't like the tone of Andor. And so I think right now what we're getting from Star Wars is a buffet of whatever you like. So if you really enjoyed The Mandalorian, we got that. We've got the animated series. We've got more serious, grounded stuff like Andor. And at the end of the day, more Star Wars. I'm happy.
Yeah. And honestly, the silly part, and we'll let Corey go in because I know I want to address what Rocket is asking here, which welcome, Rocket. I think this is your first time I'm seeing you in the chat. Is I feel like with this particular show, the fact that it isn't as innocent, and there is things that are kind of complex about it, and it's going to be tough for people to kind of accept some of those things. In that, honestly, it's kind of like the way Rogue One was. Rogue One was very much in the Star Wars world, but it added that complexity and that layer of like, are the rebels really the good guys, or did they have to do some shady things to get the job done? Mm-hmm. And I know even I'm still conflicted about that, but in the truth, that's probably what happens, and if you're really looking at it in a realism way, and whether people just want to escape through Star Wars or see the honest truth of it, I think that's going to be tough for Star Wars fans to decide. But how about you, Super Bro?
Yeah, no, I like the take of what they're trying to do. I actually want to dive a little bit deeper into some of the things that they're showing us, like the idea of a Red Dawn Star Wars show film to me is fantastic. So I want more of that. Like, let's everybody get down to business and learn how to defeat the Empire.
Yeah. Red Dawn is, I think, is a wonderful connection, Corey, and something to reference as a comparison. But Rocket here is asking, why did Andor get arrested? This is something we'll definitely get more into in our breakdown review. So if anyone hasn't seen Andor episode 7, obviously don't watch a breakdown video about it because you're going to get a spoiler. But to kind of just answer Rocket's question here, and I'll let everyone go around as well. I think it's clearly the Empire is overreacting to what happened on Aldhani, and no one is. You could do the smallest misdemeanor, and if a cop just, a stormtrooper police officer doesn't, like what you're doing, or you give him a weird vibe, the Empire doesn't. They don't need a reason. They don't need a cause to arrest you. I think it's as simple as that. It's just a overshadowing of how grand their power is during this time and how they're reacting to everything that's happening. Does anyone have an extra take on that?
Well, I think you're totally right on that aspect of it's just an overreaction and just kind of that, just they don't, like you said, they don't really need a reason. And when they think you're up to something, you're guilty before anything. He didn't even, we'll talk about it later, but in his trial, he doesn't get to say anything. And I think they try to make a comparison a little bit with, Mr. Robot Man coming and hanging him. And it's, we find out earlier in the episode that his, kidnapping father was also hung. And so I think that was kind of a little comparison that they were trying to make too.
Yeah. Anyone else?
No, I agree completely with what you're saying, because he just showed up. Maybe he looked a little bit sketchy, and I think it was there to show us how the Empire is starting to really be to treat the citizens unfairly. How easily it is for you to just get arrested by just walking around. And that's a serious commentary for how, let's say perhaps this was a person who had a family, and maybe they were supporting that family with a job, but now that family is without someone. So it's really, someone to care for them or to provide for them. So it is just showing you how this system is breaking down the people within. So that's the way I kind of saw it, but also, he just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. They really don't even know who he is or what he did for real, the real crimes that he has done.
Yeah, absolutely. How about you, Super Bro? What's your thoughts? Or
there's no Fifth Amendment in the Empire Constitution, huh? So they're gonna stop and frisk whoever the heck they want, and I just think it shows that they're embarrassed by what happened to them, and now if they think that you look and may be a criminal, or you're acting a little sketchy, you giving me those vibes, I'm going to stop you, and we're going to charge you with whatever the heck I want to charge you with.
Yeah, exactly. And we're definitely go into that a little bit more, Rocket, because there was some extra things I noticed about their arrest and kind of the hidden messages they were trying to talk about during this particular episode. Because obviously episode 6, The Eye, was an action-packed, visually stunning, just intense show. And honestly, probably the best yet of Andor, in my opinion. I don't know if everyone else agrees on the panel, but it seems like we were pretty much in agreement on our breakdown last episode that it was just a phenomenal show. And this particular, you knew something that action-packed, it was going to slow it down again. But in a way, I think it was still great because now we get to see the reaction of what happened in episode 6, how everyone is going to handle this situation, and more importantly, how the Empire is going to handle it. Because we've kind of seen Cassian talked about throughout this season about how the Empire was they're fat, they're greedy, they have no doubt that no one would dare attack them or do anything to go against the Empire. They're too proud, right? And here, for the first time, the rebels struck a blow that the Empire couldn't let go unnoticed. And here's the reaction. So we start in this particular episode, if you guys are all ready to just dive into episode 7, which was titled Announcement. And I think you can look at that in many different ways, whether it's what?
Sorry. I just wanted to bring up something about his arrest that I thought was very interesting. Because he would have gotten only a 6-month sentence and he ended up getting a 6-year sentence. And this was because he was in connection with a crime that was speaking out against the Empire. So, I mean, that's just something to not note. Like, since this whole big event that the Empire is retaliating against, speaking out against the Empire is now a higher crime.
Yeah. Absolutely. And Subaru, what were you going to say, sir?
Yeah, I was going to say I'm happy to announce before we jump into the breakdown of episode 7, we have another guest.
Ooh.
Yeah. Who is it?
Let's bring him in.
This is where the fun begins.
Koji.
Oh, he came in and he dropped.
Oh, so Lord Koji was hoping to do the show with us. I know he's not in his normal office that he does.
That was weird.
So hold on a second, Corey. Continue on the show. The dog is getting sick in the office.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
That's oh man. I was like, what's dying? Oh no. Oh gosh. So yes, everybody, Lord Koji, Mr. Koji himself is trying to jump on the panel at some point today. We will see if he's able to jump in or not, since he's not in his normal location. But Red Hooded Outlaw, or I want to mention what Batwoman said here before we dive into the actual breakdown. Joker's Wild said definitely an abuse of power. Batwoman said it was a sentence hearing, not a trial. Red Hooded Outlaw said this is exactly what the Empire wanted. Just great catch, Richard Nerd Girl. Yeah, so
thank you.
Right. I'm wondering if we should, we'll give Trey a few more seconds so he doesn't miss out the initial portion of it all. Oh, let's try it again. Koji? Koji, maybe? Koji, can you hear me? Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe he muted himself. Maybe he'll come in. So this was episode 7, announcement.
I think this show would really benefit. And if I had someone that said, "Hey, I want to watch Andor, how should I watch it?" I wish it came out in sets of 3. Koji had talked about it a couple of weeks ago about how it is kind of in sets of 3. I think the best way to watch this show would be in sets of 3 because it really has been kind of like bridge, crazy episode, bridge, crazy episode. And I felt like this episode was good in a way. I don't think it's the best episode by far, but man, this show, if you watch in sets of 3, it would be awesome. I think Koji said 2 weeks ago that it's basically 4 movies. And
wow.
I think that's kind of how it is. I'm enjoying the show, but I really wish they dropped them in sets of 3.
Okay, so because you're saying like these 2 slow episodes and then the fast paced episode, you're just anxious. You're ready to get to that third episode.
I think it would kind of fix
3, 6, 9, 12.
It would kind of fix like the pacing issue that I think I'm having with the show.
Yeah.
Because if like because they're releasing them 1 episode at a time each week, and at this point they've conditioned us to know that 3rd episode in the set is going to be a banger. It's making me not care too much about these 2 episodes because I just want to get to that 3rd episode, you know? And so I feel like if they dropped them in sets of 3, then I would probably care about the first 2 episodes a little bit more, knowing that I will get that 3rd episode right away, instead of being like, I have to wait 2 weeks until that 3rd episode.
Yeah. Well, what's your take on that, Retro?
I agree. I'm not really a fan. I mean, I stopped watching television for a reason. I can't, the weekly format is very grueling to me emotionally. I do love to binge. And so like after this is done, I'm just going to binge the whole thing, and feels more connective once you get you have the whole thing to kind of consume all at once. But I know for ratings and for, just to create more buzz, it's better for the shows financially to do it week by week. I mean, and I completely get it, but yeah, I would love to just get the whole thing done with. And I don't mind the idea of doing the 3 episodes like you suggested. Or even if it was like a mini series of like 3 movies, like 3, the way they used to do mini series where you get like 3 movies and they're like both 2 hours long. They're all 2 hours long, and
yeah.
At least it's sort of an intermission for each movie. So, but great show so far. So, I really felt like this week it wasn't as fulfilling as some of the other weeks, but there was a lot to learn. So, whoa, there's 2 Kojs.
Oh man, well, Koj, it's nice having you here, bro.
Another Koj, welcome.
Will the real Koj please stand up?
Right, yeah, which is the doppelganger.
That is wild.
Koj, can you hear us, brother? I think he's still having some technical difficulties, but we'll make sure he gets in, or if it just doesn't work out, that's so Koj is always welcome here. So Corey, we're sorry about that. First off, live show, what can I say? Right?
People want to know how's the dog.
She gone. No, I'm just kidding. She's okay. That's the book now. Live shows. Yeah, no, I just let her outside and she just looked at me like garbage. No, she's okay. Thank you for asking people. That was just that was awkward. I know she's been kind of acting a little funny the last few days. So even like keeping an eye on her, but hey, I'm if I have to scoot out again, Corey, you know what to do. But yeah,
I doubt.
Anyways, what were you talking about? Andor, obviously, where were you at, though?
We were talking about the trilogies, the sets of 3s that Koj brought up in a previous episode, and how maybe that might be attributing to some of the people's dislike for the show. As Retro Nerd Girl pointed out, we live in an era where we like to fully stream and binge watch everything all at once. And I completely agree with what Retro Nerd Girl said here, because look what I did to Rings of Power. I straight up, watched that in a weekend to prepare for the show. So, yeah, it's, I wonder if that would have helped people. We're in such a weird world nowadays, because I get anxious when I'm waiting for a show each week. You know, you're constantly like I would just remember like watching Walking Dead with you back in the day. Or like, oh man, that's the end of the episode. Like, good God, you know, now we have to
each
wait
episode
a
was
week,
definitely
you know?
leave you on a cliffhanger, right?
Yeah, and now when they don't leave you on a cliffhanger, does it make the week like, oh God, that was slow? You know, it doesn't excite you for the following episode next week. You know, does it? When they don't leave an impression like that, does it because they're doing it in a certain format? Does it cause you maybe to have the show be a forgettable show?
That's an interesting thought, and that could be what's attributing to kind of the low numbers that are starting to come out now in the analytics that we're starting to see.
Hey,
Andor
Rick.
hasn't been doing well compared to the Mandalorian or even the Bad Batch and even Book of Boba. It was kind of, I think they're about the same, kind of hitting that. Of course, obviously the last few episodes of Book of Boba really took off, but it hasn't been doing so hot. But this particular episode, I felt like while it was slow and I was expecting a slower episode because of episode 6, I think it was a very good episode because we wanted to see what the Empire was going to do, in my opinion. Or at least that's what I was hoping to see. And I think it's only going to ramp up from here. We're going to start to see a lot of violence and brutality from the Empire. And you kind of get that sense just from the opening scene with the Imperial Security Bureau with Admiral Yularen, which, if you guys didn't know who Admiral Yularen was, we've seen him in Clone Wars. He's often the commander of the clones with Anakin Skywalker of the 501st. He's also been in the Star Wars Rebels show working alongside of Admiral Thrawn. So he's been a big part of the Star Wars lore, and he does die eventually on the first Death Star with Tarkin. What was that, Corey?
Spoiler.
I mean, it's pretty obvious if you haven't seen episode 4. If you haven't seen episode 4, you're about 40 years behind. You need to catch up. But it was really cool to see Yularen again. But one of the best parts about seeing Yularen was that he mentions that he had a conversation with the Emperor, and obviously the Emperor is displeased with everyone's behavior and allowing such a atrocity to happen. And to me, it was great to finally hear like what's the Emperor been up to, because so far in this Andor show, it kind of seems like the Emperor has been non-existent, but nonetheless, it was nice to hear what he's up to. But one thing I particularly liked about this whole scene with the Imperial Security Bureau is that when they're talking about the heist that happened to Aldhani and how they're going to handle it, they talk about how... Are you being weird again? Sorry, this is going to happen throughout the entire show where I'm just going to be like, are you okay? But when they talked about the money being stolen, how they're going to make that money back, they're like, all those surrounding planets, if we find out or, even suspect that they had any assistance with the heist or that they're part of the rebels, we're going to tax the hell out of them and make them pay it back. So already financially, we're starting to see how much of an impact this had on the Empire, but how they're going to, reclaim their payroll money for those harboring, their surrounding worlds harboring the rebels. But more importantly, Corey, as we talked about it earlier, with the Empire kind of doing unreasonable search and seizures and stuff like that, it's basically a reflection of how America reacted after the attack of September 11th with the Patriot Act. How there was a lot of that, where they basically took away some of those rights. And it was obviously just a reactionary thing, but go ahead.
You got that aspect, but since Savage Bat's not here, we have to do some World War II references. Look at the imprisonment camps, with the Japanese and everything like that. So
yes,
if you are rebel scum, we're going to, toss you in a camp. So, or if we even think that you may be affiliated with them, you're in the imprisonment camp. But yes, there's tons of things like the Patriot Act, a different thing, the imprisonment camps. There's a lot of things that correlate to how societies react when there's something doesn't go as planned or something bad happens to your group.
Yeah. How about you guys? What is your reaction to how the Empire is going to handle this and how they're going to try to find the people responsible for the Aldani heist?
I'm curious if we'll see Palpatine next episode.
They did mention the emergency.
They were going to do an emergency Senate meeting, and we've been following the story of a senator. And so I'm curious to see if maybe we'll get to see her while she's in that meeting. So it'd be interesting to see if I'm hoping we get to see him next episode. I think that would be really cool. But yeah, it's funny. It takes something like, this was kind of their plan, was just to, try to get a huge reaction out of them. And boy, did they. Like, they went 0 to 100 real quick. So I'm curious as to see, I think next episode, maybe we hopefully get to see more of that meeting. Obviously, we're going to see about Cassian being arrested, but I'm hoping that we'll see more of that reaction stuff. Because, I mean, that stuff was what made this episode interesting, was just to kind of hear what they're going to start implementing, throughout the galaxy, basically, because of just one event.
Yeah. But, as Luthen even kind of said in his thing, he knew that this particular mission, it was important because it was really going to be the spark that lights the fire in the rebellion. Because as he tells Mon Mothma, the hope is we want them to overreact. And Deidre, who is one of the Imperial officers, she's on to that idea, which I still have theories about her. But it just the simple fact that basically in Luthen's eyes, everything is working out exactly the way he wanted it to, because he knows there's going to be casualties. He knows there's going to be consequences to this Imperial reaction and this overreaction, as he put it, to the point where it's going to cause the Empire to, in a way, make a mistake, to be quick to the trigger on anyone who's pushing back, and people are going to feel more confident to push back. And this is just going to lead up to that eventual massacre that's going to happen, that we know about in Star Wars lore, that's really just going to push everyone to be the rebels, really the Republic versus the Empire at some point. Retro, what was your thought about the Imperial reaction?
I think it's reasonable. I like the way this is being written as a story structure. I love the fact that the Imperial government, they're smart. They're doing what they can do to affect the story. They're making the obvious actions that you would think a government would do after some rebels decide that they are going to perform a heist on their goods. So yeah, this is all reasonable and makes sense logically. I suppose what's next, and what I was really excited for, is how the heist is also going to be inspiring to average folks. And instead of watching the Empire slowly take more and more of their liberties, there may be a sense of okay, there was a group of people who went in and did something that hurt the Empire. We know it hurt the Empire because look at how they're reacting. And this is sort of like this thing that's going to backfire on the Empire. And I'm totally here for it. I'm like, yeah, show me more, show me everything.
Yeah,
Right.
It excites me, because it's part of what we already know is going to happen, but also it's seeing how people are beginning to grow a pair of balls,
Mm-hmm. Right.
We even see later in the episode that it does have an effect with his, that damn kidnapper. She is, she brings up, she's like, you hear what happened on this thing? She's like, I can't do anything if I leave. So, it's a great way to say that, like, hey, there is some holes in their armor and we can get in there. And so, yeah, I think you're totally right. Like, it's interesting. They're showing people that, that they can affect the Empire.
Yeah.
And I love what you said there, Retro Nerd Girl, specifically when you got into the Empire is proceeding exactly as you would expect them to proceed. And that kind of, made me think of, Luthen and Mon Mothma, interaction in the shop where she's like, "Was this you?" type thing, and he's like, sometimes you gotta do it. You gotta poke the bear, and you know how the bear is going to respond. Yeah. And this is going to cause the trouble. They're going to respond this way, and this is just going to continue to piss people and grow our cause. So there's going to be casualties. There's going to be some tough times, but this is what we need to start the rebellion.
I'm actually really... Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Retro.
Well, another thing too, those scenes that we're talking about are very slow-moving scenes, or scenes that aren't full of action. They're more dealing with people talking. But those are the scenes that we need in order to understand what's going to be happening further along in the story. That's why, for me personally, yes, the pacing wasn't where action, but it was still juicy information we needed to really feel like this story is fully rounded,
And they hit the Empire with money. They took their money, and that's going to get their attention. Daedra is like, hey, they're stealing like equipment and stuff. Like, she has brought up multiple different times where there's equipment that has been stolen, and they're like, don't worry about it. One bank heist, and they're like, all right, we're shutting this shit down.
Perfect.
And so not only did they hit them where it would actually get them to do something. Because if they just stole more equipment, that's equipment. They can replace that. It's not a big deal. They take their money. Now they're really mad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and honestly, that's kind of the funny part, right? Is like they're, as they kind of said, it's so sporadic, and spontaneous that it's not random. This is all calculated moves, and the fact that they've taken Stargazer equipment, all things that are going to help the rebellion have a fighting chance against the Empire. And really, the first time that the Empire gives a damn is when their payroll is taken, right? That's when they're like, oh, what the hell? Like, I gotta pay, my lawyers, my divorce lawyer. It's kind of funny that that's what sets it off for the Empire. But I'm really...
Were you not surprised that the Emperor pays his employees? Like, did you?
No, I'm not surprised. Simply because money is kind of usually in any kind of storytelling, money's the greed, is the corruption that really convinces people to do bad things. And it's kind of the difference between the poor, the rebels, and stuff like that, how they're fighting every day to day. I mean, just like Anakin was, right? He was a slave. He wasn't getting money. And as we've seen with Rey, with the sequel trilogy, with her just kind of being in the ruts and stuff like that, versus the hierarchy, right? Like, versus the people that are living life to the point of where they're eating comfortably, as we kind of see at Mon Mothma's party. They're drinking punch and their life is good. They don't understand the troubles of the outside galactic world, and this is what's all going to come crashing down on them, right? This comforts that they have, and this ability to kind of shrug off those who are struggling because of their greed is going to, it's what's going to set it off even further, the distance between the social classes in this whole entire story. But yeah, and I agree. I see a lot of people commenting about how the writing of this entire series has been really, really good. And I agree. And I almost wonder, it's like one of those things that maybe the show's ahead of its time in a way. just kind of like Batman v Superman was, where a lot of people didn't get it the first time they saw it. And now that they saw the ultimate cut and they kind of see where it connects in the story and all the deep metaphors that are within that and the reflections of our world versus fantasy. And I think Andor is going to be a lot like that, where people maybe aren't picking up on all the deep metaphors and the imageries that we're seeing. But I think in time, people will come to respect it. And I think this show is kind of like ripping off a Band-Aid. It is complex. It is complicated compared to the innocence that we've seen throughout Star Wars, to where people are going to grow with it in time, to where I think they're really going to appreciate it. But there was an episode.
Well,
Corey,
there's really no good side right now either. You know, the rebels aren't fighting for all the same cause. They each they're conflicted as well. You know, a lot of them are fighting for themselves. There's not a joint effort right now. There's just the Empire, so it's very dark and gloomy.
Absolutely. There was sorry, go ahead, Ray. Sorry, Ray. I was thinking Ray from the sequel trilogy, and then Retro Durgo. Sorry, what were you saying?
Oh no, I was just saying, yeah, I agree completely.
Yeah.
There's no good. They're both doing some really sketchy stuff. But I would also say that the rebels, or the people who are doing this rebellious act of the heist, they don't have anything to really go home to. They don't really have anything to lose by, risking their lives for this stuff. It's not like, I think the one person that we see actually has something to lose would be Mon Mothra, because she has a family, even though they seem to be so distant from her emotionally. At least she has a daughter. Everyone else seems like they don't have family, or they're disenfranchised from their own homes. And that's another like sad story, like losing your entire family, being forced to be amongst strangers, and then trying to find a way to survive in this hard world of that's happening in the galaxy, with the Imperial rule bearing down on every single thing they do. They can't even walk down the street without being arrested. So I think I love this story. I love this story.
Mm-hmm.
I love the people that they're accentuating in this story.
Yeah. And a scene that was shot so beautifully in this episode was that scene with Luthen and Mon Mothma, because when he's faking that smile throughout, right? Like, and then as soon as he turns, bam, you get the real Luthen, and they're both, she's obviously panicking because she's like, I didn't realize you were doing this. And in a way, she kind of reminds me a lot like Padme, of how Padme was kind of presented in Clone Wars and even Attack of the Clones, where she didn't want the fight. She didn't want the war. She thought everything could be handled diplomatically. And that's just not always the case, especially with someone like the Empire, right? And here she was kind of like, you don't like, do you understand like the position you're putting me in? Like, I'm being watched as is, and nothing happened before that. My own driver is, working with the Emperor himself to keep an eye on me. And
there was
obviously
real tension there. I was scared for her. I know she's going to survive, but there was real tension in that scene. Like I was afraid for her and Luthen.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just loved that the way they were able to have kind of that discussion. He honestly put the ball in her court and was just kind of said, are you actually for this or not? You can't play on the sidelines forever and be on the outside looking in. Are you involved or not? Or as kind of like someone says later in the show, not towards, Mon Mothma, but it was kind of the theme, right? Like, are you a part of this?
I guess I'm curious about, Mon Mothma's plan. Did they ever? I don't think they ever really dove into that. I would be he, you know, Luthen talked about how she's hoping for like the one big night type thing to help take over. You know,
Well, he
where
needs her finances. He needs the finances to support his
Mhm.
and honestly her political power and connections with people who are
where
against the Empire secretly. But yeah,
where Luthen is maybe a little bit more kind of he's embracing the chaos needed in a
Ooh.
rebellion. You know, he's okay with rebel life lost. You know, he's okay
yeah.
with people living through the suck. And is that fair? Where he's sitting, you know, where he's living a nice life. Yes, it's a fake life, but he's at
Yeah.
least, you know,
I
living a
think
somewhat protected life.
I think like Savage has mentioned many times on our show is that there's something about Luthen. There's some
Mm-hmm.
backstory that we haven't seen yet because we need to understand his hatred for the rebellion. We need to understand why he's willing and understands that it's worth giving up, innocent lives essentially to take down the rebellion. Take down the Empire. And honestly, the rebellion, and he's not wrong. It's very much like a Hydra. You kill one, two will grow in its place. And for every innocent life lost to the Empire's rule, two more people are going to join his cause. And just like he said to her, like, what did you expect? Like, this was going to be the consequences. I want them to overreact because now that they're going to overreact, more people are going to join our cause. Now that feels shady to us, right? That feels like disingenuous. It sounds like you're asking for a fight, but we also have to remember just how terrible the Empire is. They haven't been. I know there's like some people that would argue like the Empire has ruled with a strong fist and it's kept the galaxy organized, but in a way they've done it to where people are truly oppressed and there's not freedom in this. You're just living day to day hoping that you don't cause an issue here, and there's fear and you're ruling with fear. And with this, he knows that this fight is worth the loss, is worth the casualties. It's just like playing chess. You're going to lose a few pawns, but in the end, you're going to be there for another day to keep fighting, and eventually, hopefully, win this battle. But we need to understand why Luthen is that way. We need to understand how Luthen knows Cassian. What's your guys' thoughts, as Corey kind of brought up, the complexity of Luthen of being okay with those casualties?
I mean, I think he's got a vision of what he thinks this needs to be and how he thinks it needs to be done, and he's willing to do it in any way that he sees fit. He seems like he's just really passionate about this. I'm very curious to see, like, he mentions like we need every credit that we can get. I'm curious if he's got a bigger plan that he needs that money for. If there's some sort of weapon that he wants to buy, or if it's just in general, hey, we need money to do this, or if there really is something that he's a bigger plan, like maybe this bank heist was step one to a bigger multi-step plan that he has that he just hasn't really mentioned yet.
Yeah. Well, we haven't seen the rebellion fleet yet, all those ships that we've seen in episode I think episode 6 is technically when we see the first rebellion. Actually episode 5, Empire Strikes Back, in episode 6 we see the full-on fleet that the rebellion has. And I mean, that money has to come from somewhere, so I wouldn't be surprised if some of that goes to that. But you're absolutely right, we need to see if there's a bigger plan here other than just having the funds to put the rebellion together, or if he has something grander in mind to take down the Empire. It'd be curious to see. Great catch all around, Orc and Beans. How about you, Retro?
Yeah, I completely agree there. And, I'm just as curious as you guys. Like, what's his backstory? I mean, we don't need anything too deep, but enough to understand what's motivating him. That would be good as a first start. And, how does he know what will hurt the Empire? How does he know all the things that he knows? And what are they going to do with the money exactly. And, just moving forward, how does this finally form up the rebellion? How does the rebellion actually form up? And I suppose we won't know in this season, right? If there may be another season, but how many more episodes do we have?
It goes until episode 12, I
12.
bet, right?
Oh,
Yeah, so
okay.
we have this
Ooh,
was the halfway mark of the next
ooh,
part.
ooh.
Yes.
Okay.
So 5 more.
Wow.
We might be getting a total form up by the end. I can see that being possible.
Yeah.
So I'm curious as to all that and how Cassian plays into all of this, because it looks like um, V was given what's her name?
Vale.
Val was given an order to kill Cassian. So
Yeah.
I'm like, who gave that order? Was that directly from Luthen? Um, yeah, that's and if it
Yeah.
was, that's dark.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm so glad you brought that up, Retro, because that was literally kind of where I was leading to. And this all goes to that complexity of this show and with what Rogue One started. And I think what people get kind of iffy about when it comes to this show, because Rogue One was really the first time we saw the Rebels do something kind of messed up, by, Cassian killing that one guy who was spying for him, was supposedly a friend, but to save his own skin, and not to deal with the situation, he took him out like it was no problem. And this show is kind of doing the same thing. And I guess my interest to it really is they're trying to tie up that loose end of Cassian, right? And Vale's kind of taken back by, because she's like, we're not honoring the rebels who pulled this off. We're not honoring Nemec. We're not honoring all these guys. And she's worried about, obviously, her girlfriend Cinta, who is still stuck on Aldhani. And the fact that when she's given the order from Luthen's assistant to take him out, take Cassian out because he connects to Luthen. Why is Luthen so important? Because when you think about it, he's asking everyone else to get this job done. Now, he did set it up and he's kind of set up this network, but I guess that's the question is, how deep is this network he has built? Like, how grand is his connections? Because really his best ally seems to be Mon Mothma. What's your takes on all that, Orc and Beans?
I think we haven't even really scratched the surface of what he's got going on. Like, I think he's so many steps ahead of what we can see, and I think that's the point of him. Like, I think he's supposed to just keep us on our toes of like, what is he planning? What is going on? And honestly, I don't even know if the plan to kill Cassian was his idea. I didn't take it as it was. For me, I felt like it was the assistant taking the initiative and saying that you should kill him. Because he had said before that he was a little worried about bringing Cassian, but I never was under the impression that he wanted Cassian gone. And she even says that, like, these other guys will be missed. We had some worries about the other guy, so he's not a big deal that he's gone. But I never was under the impression that Luthen wanted Cassian killed. And I think that was just the assistant kind of taking the initiative. Yeah.
Do you think that the assistant is not completely
I something shady about her. Because
I was thinking the same thing.
Because when he is in the room talking to the senator, she's listening in. And I don't know if he knows that.
I had a thought about this. I was wondering, because I'm also extremely curious about Luthen. I need to know what his skin in the game is. And that's what got me thinking, maybe he's just the pawn in front of the assistant. The assistant is the one who's really controlling this all. she's listening to every conversation. But she's from afar, so she's not.
She's the
not
wizard
directly-
behind the curtain,
Yes,
running
she's-
the puppeteer. Yeah.
Yes,
Maybe.
that's what I was wondering.
That's an interesting thought. I think I've said that I thought originally that his assistant was Cassian's sister. I don't think that's no longer true. I mean, it seems weird that she would send to someone to go kill her brother if that was the case. So I don't think that's true. I don't think we've seen Cassian's sister now after this episode just yet. But it's definitely an interesting thought for sure. That why is Luthen so necessary to protect his secret? And then he would be an asset lost for sure, but there's something there that we haven't seen yet that would suggest just how important he is to the rebellion and this network that he has built around him. How about you, Super Bro? Oh, Corey, are you here?
Yep, sorry about that.
Oh,
say that. Ask that one more time.
So basically, what's your thoughts or theory about Luthen's connection? And as we kind of brought up, is do you think I think was it Orc's theory that said Luthen's assistant is actually the puppeteer of it all?
Well, that was the point that I was getting to earlier. The fact that Luthen is the pawn in front of her, protecting her, type thing. That she's still listening in. If Luthen's cover ever was exposed, then she would be able to escape. She would still survive it. So it definitely gave me a. She's either going to be, not on the rebel side or a major player with the rebellion is kind of the vibes that I'm getting. And the fact that she's involved as much as she is, it's suspicious, right? Because Luthen's a very quiet person. He's, when it comes to what's going on, he's very secretive. So the fact that his assistant's helping and always he's talking to her so openly about these things, it makes me wonder that she has a deeper role. She's, Luthen's the outer layer. She's the inner circle, Yeah.
Interesting. She's the one building. Sorry,
I thought it was interesting that their meeting place fell and the assistant was, I believe that's the place where Thrill is. Because we see that shot of her coming off the train, just like we did with him when he went to go see his mom, to go live with her. I'm pretty sure they're on the same place. And so I thought that was interesting that was where their meeting was. And so maybe Thrill will get a sniff of what's going on and maybe he'll get involved.
I have theories about
tie him
Surreal
back into the show.
Yeah, we'll talk about Surreal at the end because I have some kind of hot takes about his character and a theory.
I was going to say that's a very surreal collar you're wearing there today, Working Beans.
I got a show I got to go to tonight, so.
Yeah, he's just trying to look important, Look at me, because his mom hates him. No, I'm just kidding. Do you think he is as radical? Oh, he is as radical as Saul Guerrero. Luthen?
Yeah, that's what it was addressed to, yeah.
I think I don't know. It's hard to say if it's radicalism or if it's simply the man is just very aware. He understands. To him, he's kind of cold, right? The way he reacts to things, he's kind of cold. And I think it's simply he's just been around death long enough to where this is not going to go clean. And I think that's the issue that people like Padme and Mon Mothma had, and really even oh gosh, I'm totally spacing his name right now. Obi-Wan's friend, the Senator Organa. They are trying so hard to be gentlemen and ladies and diplomatic about this whole situation.
With the system, they still believe that democracy will work. So they're still well, let's get up a group of people, let's talk about this, let's discuss things. Whereas, the Empire is like shoot first, ask questions later.
Yes. They're very, like you said, they very much hope for the system to work for them. And they think they want to exhaust every possible non-violent option. And while that's admirable of them, in this case with the Empire, it's not, Luthen is already under that impression that there's no way you're going to handle this diplomatically.
Yes, and I think that's why we're getting to the point where we need to understand what Luthen's skin in the game is. What is bringing him here? Because as of right now, we don't really know that. We do know that he has a shop where he sells old war relics and things like that. So is he profiting off of this? Is he just say, oh, cool, it's wartime, and I'm making an extra buck here. I'm starting to get to the point where I need to know, man. I need to know, Luther. What are you doing here?
Yeah, what are his motivations? Because I can only imagine that he is a person who may have, if it's from a kind of an honest place, that he may have suffered the loss of some people that were really close to him, and now he has nothing to lose by doing this, and sort of has figured out a way to kind of get revenge, if you will. It could be revenge. I'm not sure if he is the kind of person who's like, oh, I want, I want to see people, the citizens of the galaxy be happy. It's more like, let's get at these guys and hurt them, hurt the Empire. He wants to, this is my assumption, I'm just going by intuition. It feels like he wants to hurt the Empire.
Yeah. And I get the sense that his hands aren't exactly clean.
No.
That he has a part in this, a role to play in the Empire, kind of like what Savage has said and theorized that, based off how cold he can be and how okay with casualties that he is, how comfortable he is with that, I would say that he's used to this. He knows the game because he was part of that group. He was a part of the Empire and involved in a way where he knows what it took to get the Empire there, and he knows what it's going to take to get them out.
See, I didn't even think of that he may have been on the inside. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, it sounds very possible.
He definitely doesn't have a fear of loss as some may have in the early phases of a rebellion, right? Yes, they, early rebels would probably feel like this is a necessary cause, but you're still hurt when you lose somebody. Where he's kind of, everybody's kind of pawns and chess pieces to him right now. So you're right. The loss of life for him doesn't necessarily matter. It's just one goal for him right now.
Yeah, absolutely. To get to Cassian now, who returns to Ferrix, which we saw in the first couple of episodes, where his adoptive mother and Orkin Beans, when I saw this scenes, I was very curious to hear your take on it, because I truly think she probably did things the best in the best intentions of Andor. While it may have not seemed like it, I think she actually does care about him, not in like a creepy, like possessive way, but I think she thought she was doing the right thing, even though it may have been questionable. And I would love to hear your take, because Cassian obviously cares about her too. He went back for her and said, I have the credits. I'll take you away from here and we can live a good life. That could be victim mentality, but what's your thoughts on that whole, relationship between them? We really got a deep dive on them this round.
That's the trauma in him. But let's just talk as if maybe he does truly love her because he loves her and she didn't kidnap him. Let's talk in that sense. I think it made sense. Like he's taking a huge risk going back for her. And I think it shows his character, and that even in the most dangerous of times, he truly does love her and care for her, and he wanted to go back for her. I think it's a little bit later. I was surprised that she's talking about this whole, we're going to fight them. I'm not leaving. I'm not giving up on this. Oh, but you should give up on your sister. And that was surprising to me. She's talking about fighting the Empire, but his sister is a fantasy. And I was confused. I was really confused by that. And I didn't think it made sense. And it seemed she kind of came off like a hypocrite a little bit on that. And so I don't think he will. I don't think he is going to give up on her. Maybe she knows some more that we don't, because she even says, no one survived or anything like that. But I think she truly does care about him. He truly cares about her. But I thought it was surprising for her to say, hey, I'm going to fight the Empire, but you should give up on your sister.
Interesting.
She also
Very
kidnapped him, though.
interesting.
So that's what a kidnapper would say.
Oh, man. How about you, Retro?
Yeah, you brought up a really good question there, or convince. Her response should have been like, don't ever give up on your sister, unless she personally had something to do with his sister's death. That that could be like what she's keeping as a secret, but I don't know. It felt like we weren't going to see her ever again. I don't know. It is a different, it's their relationship is interesting, but I kind of was like, why did he go? Like, I know he loves her, he wanted to go back, but it was so dangerous, and he's well aware of the dangers. Why did he go back?
Go ahead, Super.
I think that was kind of my question to you guys about that, because how I took it was, some time has passed since that incident that he had on that planet. He has money now. Old ways would say that things, they would have kind of forgotten about things, or like the trouble that he was in would have died down. He didn't necessarily know that his identity was given up to authorities. So he went back there thinking that like, oh, he could kind of sneak in, go back. Nobody's really going to pay much attention to him. And then he can, go wherever he wants with Marva. And I took it more from that sense rather than like he doesn't understand or doesn't really know that the things that he's done, the events that have unfolded, the path that he took is creating this this world of a stricter and tighter empire, and that everything that he's done is having more and more consequence to the entire galaxy, to the empire. Everybody's taking the heat, and we'll see it later on when he leaves as well. So for me, I took it more as he's blinded by the reality of his actions and how bad what he did is going to be for everybody else, and help maybe trigger him in the future to join the path of joining the rebellion eventually. This is the start of why he needs to be a rebel.
Well, and also like she is, talking about like, I'm going to make a stand, I'm going to do this, and that. And she doesn't even realize that the thing that really kicked it off for her, he was a part of. Mm-hmm. He did it. And I think my theory is probably next episode, or probably the third episode in this trilogy, twice now, they have brought up that they're held up at a hotel. There was 2 episodes ago, we saw just a random scene where they're like all in that town or whatever, and they're like, hey, do you think we could use this hotel as a headquarters? And then she brings up in this episode that they're held up in this headquarters. So I think he's going to pop off and that hotel is going up in flames. And that's when she's going to realize that, oh no, Cassian is in this. He also wants to fight the Empire. And I think that's going to be kind of his way of like trying to free up that city, is by taking out their headquarters that they have at that hotel. Because they brought it up twice now.
I think she'll actually be the one to take down, or at least try to take down the hotel, because
it's going to be one or the other. And if it is her, she's going down because it's Disney. Moms always die. And that might be that might be the thing that gets Cassian to be like, you know what? Fuck the Empire. I'm helping out.
Is she a mom or is she a kidnapper, Cody? Or kind of
the mama kidnapper.
Just accept. Well, Oracle actually brought up something that I did want to talk about, because one thing that I think has been difficult in this show is to kind of get behind Cassian. He's not the most honorable character that we've ever seen in Star Wars, and I feel like we really like to root for the good guys. Or, I mean, if you're like Super Bro Corey, who loves the Sith, you root for Anakin and Darth Vader all the time. But I feel like because he is that complex character that's not afraid to take out innocent people or to kind of walk away from doing what's right all the time, he goes back and he pays off his debts. And that was kind of, I mean, in a way, like Oracle said, he went to one of the most dangerous places he could go at the time, and he knows it because he's trying to, cover under the hood. And yet he wants to make things right. Why?
I think, I mean, in the first episode, he's going around and asking people like, hey, can you cover for me? Can you cover for me? Hey, can you cover for me? I fucked up. Can you cover for me? And I think like he was always just trying to get that one big score. And now that he's done it, he's trying to, it's kind of his way of thank you, like for dealing with my bullshit. And I think it really was just him trying to say sorry. And it was the least that he could do. And, now that he's got all this money, he's going to, try to just get out of there.
How about you, Retro?
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes when you need a favor and you ask someone to help you out, but things don't go right after that, like you don't eat, and then you're like, oh my god, I'd really like to pay back that person. And that's, I think with him, he is a person who is always in need of other people, or always in a pickle, right? Always in trouble, whether it be his own doing or because of someone else. And so and I think this is the reason why he's still likable. And at the core of it, it seems like he's making decisions that are kind of honorable. I mean, he shoots the guy, at point blank range because he's talking about doing something treacherous, and scamming people out of, the money. His reasoning he gets into trouble like most people do. I mean, everybody, not all the time, but I mean, it's easy to get into a little trouble here and there, but it seems to always find him somehow. And I think he's a person who is trying to combat that by like, okay, I finally got some money in my hands. I finally got something. Let me like follow through with my promise. That's the least that he can do, even though he's left a big mess on his, for everybody to deal with. So he is a tragic character. and I think that's why he's likable still. He's not quite the hero that you want, but he's the hero that you've got.
The hero that you deserve, but not the one you need. Super Bro Corey, what's your thoughts about Cassian going out of his way to provide and pay off debts?
I think he knows some of the mistakes that he's done, and he's trying to make things right. So he does have certain, cares and feelings about that. I think it's good to see, because we need the balance of, we see Cassian do a lot of bad things and some questionable things, and like, whoa, he pulled the trigger super quick, so it's also good to see, as far as character development goes, that he does have some soft parts, some soft things to him, rather than all these hard, man feelings,
Yeah. Well, you do get some flashbacks that kind of give you the ideas of why he's kind of hardened a little bit. Because I think deep down, I think someone said, I think he is a good guy. And I think he's trying to make things right. And I think he does have a serious issue against oppression and those who are oppressing. But I also think it's his old mentality of when he was a part of that children tribe. Everyone was working together to take care of each other. And I think he still has those beliefs and morals in him. And that's why he does go back to take care of family. I think family is important to him. Clearly, I mean, he went to... Sorry, what was that, Retro?
I just said that's a good point.
Yeah. And I think that's where a lot of that comes from. But at the same time, in those flashbacks, which I think you can kind of tell it takes place shortly after Revenge of the Sith. I think if you look at the time frame, I was able to kind of like pick out maybe 2 years after Revenge of the Sith and Order 66, because we actually see clones who are under the Empire's rule still at this time before they switched over to the Stormtroopers. And we see Cassian's adopted father. I think was it Clem, something like that. He's trying to maintain the situation of the townspeople, and he's obviously clearly a man of respect around there, and he's trying to prevent them from doing anything, because you hear people angry, they're chanting, long live the Republic, and clearly the clones are pretty much mindless creatures at this point, because they just follow, a good soldier follows orders, and turn around because someone throws a rock at him. And unfortunately, Cassian's adopted father happens to be in front of all of that, and is blamed for just the little bit of outbreak, and is hung. And we see in that flashback that Cassian is moving to take a swing at these clones. And I'm assuming this is what propels his story to being eventually obtained. And I think he said he was basically at like a juvie right before he was enlisted to fight. I think that's kind of what takes him in that direction. What was your guys' thoughts about the flashback, and what does it say about Cassian?
I mean, it explains why. I agree. I think that's probably the reason why, he spent some time in jail or whatever. And it just shows, like, Clem says, don't worry, they're just going to put up their silly flag and then they're going to leave. And then he tries to be the one that stops what's going on, and he gets hung for it. And so I think it was kind of just saying that, like, the Empire was always kind of this way, and then they got lazy, and like you keep saying, they're fat. They got lazy and fat, and now after this bank heist, they're going to go back to their old ways, and the smallest stuff is going to get you hung. And so I thought it was it explained a lot.
How about you, Retro?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. It's just showing you the cruelty of the Empire, and how they're unjust. They don't they don't ask questions. They just, they just grab people and kill them. And it also shows us how Cassian is kind of been raised in this cold world. It's really cold. And so, just shooting someone like he has done in many episodes prior is not a big deal for him because he's seen it his whole life. So this cruel world has, begot another cruel individual. Even though he's not exactly a bad guy, uh, you know, he just, his psychology, the way he deals with death is a totally different way from the way maybe we are all more sensitive to it. Where we would be more sensitive, like, okay, maybe there was a way that you could talk to that, that unscrupulous guy, and or maybe you could have arrested him. But Cassian is like, no, just kill him. That simple fact of the matter is the psychological state that he's in, being brought up in this cruel world, being run by the Empire. And that's sort of kind of tells you a lot about maybe children or people being brought up or being inundated by wars in war zones. Their outlook on death is completely different to how we look at it because we haven't had that full exposure on a daily basis.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, I love this. Go ahead, Super Bro.
It's interesting for sure. I think they did a great job of just showing how chaotic things were right after the overturn of the Jedi rule. How the Empire shifted, and because really, you would want the guy who's going to calm people down to stay alive, and in a town like that, and no, the Empire rules by fear. So
yeah, he was definitely used to make an example out of anyone, even though he wasn't the one that threw the rock. He was a man that went down for it.
And I think that shows, and it'd be one thing. They killed the guy with the rock who hit him with the rock, where rather than the guy who's trying to cause peace. But maybe that's one of the reasons that plays up to people being so upset with the Empire. So they rule by fear, not by logic.
One thing I do want to bring up was a certain scene with Mon Mothma and a childhood friend of hers. I think his name was Tay. And she feels like he's the only man that she can trust, which is kind of crazy when you think about it, because obviously her husband's a POS. But she has a wonderful, like, that whole dialogue there was like one of the highlights of this particular episode, where I think at this moment it's kind of her time where she's finally committing truly to the cause. But she's asking him to help grant her access to her family's finances, because obviously she comes from a very wealthy family, and he's kind of like telling her like, oh, well, I don't exactly agree with your politics, kind of trying to tell her like I'm in belief of rebelling against the Empire. And she tells him like, don't you realize that this is a front, that this is the Mon Mothma that you get in the Senate is not who truly is behind the curtain here. And she kind of tells him basically like, there's bigger things happening, but I'm going to try to keep you safe. And I love that quote. She says like, while people think I'm holding the rock, the truth is I have a knife up to their throat. That was like, damn, I loved that entire scene. But one thing that if you paid super close attention in that particular scene, you can tell her husband even when it's blurry and he's like kind of out of the picture, out of the clearness of the picture, he's constantly watching her. You know,
Yes.
he's suspicious of her true natures. And I don't think it's the fact that, oh, here she's talking to a childhood friend. Is she cheating? I think he's very much aware of her rebellion. Well, her wishes to shut down the Empire. What did you guys think about that entire scene? Orc and Beans, let's start with you, then Retro, then Super Bro.
I think it's another example of just how comfortable they are, that she's able to basically walk around talking about how she's going to try to help overthrow the Empire at her own party with all these people. Like, they're just chit-chatting, talking, careless, living good. And but yeah, that her husband's a scumbag, and I think he's going to be a huge reason of kind of he might give up her story and might show who she truly is. And so it was a very good scene. I really enjoyed that. And I'm curious to see how involved this guy is. I know she's kind of just trying to get him so that she can get her money out in a sneaky way. But I'm curious to see if maybe he'll be a little more involved than just that.
Yeah. And the fact that she tells him that she loves being watched, that she loves that she's the distraction to what truly is going on. Like, while they're paying so close attention, they're really not. They're looking at the wrong details of what she's up to, which I think just really goes to show how just a great of a character that she is, and how aware of her surroundings she is. Retro, what was your thoughts on that entire scene?
Oh, I absolutely loved it. First of all, I know this is kind of like a girl thing, but I just loved what she was wearing. It
was a dope outfit.
Oh yeah, and she just exudes so much class, and she's so regal. I just enjoyed her presence so very much. My nickname for her is Mon Hatma.
Mon Hatma, that's it. Yeah.
Mon Hatma, you heard it here. Hashtag Mon Hatma.
Yeah, she's great, and the actress playing her is just doing such a great job. I think this scene was so important for us to know how, even though she shows this shock and this visceral abhorrence to violence at Luthen's shop, she's actually she's embracing it. She's embracing what is to come. She's embracing the fact that there's gonna have to be a sort of a violent and possibly like a heading off with the Empire sooner rather than later. And I enjoyed the power that she had in making that known and making that decision personally. And what was kind of interesting to me was this friend of hers. I was just so worried because I was like, oh no, I hope he's not a bad guy. Because she just blew her cover. But yes, you're so right. Her husband
actually that's
watching her the whole time. And it was just like it was getting to me. I was just like, what is going on with that husband? And I thought it was very interesting how her daughter came over and asked to be excused from the party when Mon Mothma was talking to that guy, and I was just like, that doesn't look like an accident. So I don't know. I feel like there's more to that part of the story that we should get, more juicy details to eventually. I love that kind of political intrigue. It's a little slower paced, but it just shows you more activity is happening beyond just people on the ground level. trying to form this rebellion. This is all sort of like all points lead to the rebellion.
I saw exactly how you saw it, Retro, and the thing that I was questioning, and I would love to hear all of your takes on this. I think that, with the relationship that she has with her family, specifically her husband, and how he was watching her the entire time. I agree with you. I think the sending over the daughter going over to her was fabricated as well, almost like the husband sent her. So I'm wondering if her family has been compromised as well now, where they're enjoying this, high life, and they don't want to see it lost by any means. So they've been employed by the Empire to spy as well.
Yep. Yeah, I could buy that in a minute, because they both seem to be ashamed of her and her stance at the Senate, wanting to or fighting for the little guy, so to speak. Like all these things that she's doing, they seem to be completely against her career. And even though part of her career is buying, is partly lavishing this world for them, I suppose they would be really, really upset to know that the family funds are now going to be spent, not their family, but her family funds are not going to be integrated with them, but now it's going to be going to the rebellion. That's probably going to cause a rift,
Yeah.
Because, anything happens to her, well, that money will go to her husband and the daughter. But now they won't be privy to that. So this is the making of a soap opera. I'm really
Star Wars soap opera. It literally is, right? And it was a space opera is what they used to call it. But this this show is kind of an actual soap opera,
Oh yeah, I mean, it's so juicy. I was like, please, I didn't want it to end. But yeah, their story moving forward should be, I hope that they really expand on it, and I hope we just get more detail as to how the father and daughter is playing in this whole thing, because something is so sketchy about it.
Yeah.
And we all feel it, we all see it. And also, how is has Mon Mothma really gotten to the stage where she's like, goodbye, she can say goodbye to her family, like she can actually look at her daughter and say, have a good life,
Yeah,
So
that's gonna be a tough scene to watch for her, because it's gonna break her heart. But I think that moment is clearly coming at some point.
I guess we'll find out the next time as the Empire turns.
Oh my god, that old soap opera mom used to watch.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that show was called, but I remember
As the World Turns.
Yeah, the Careless Whisper saw,
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Now, I think someone asked earlier, do you think Tay can be trusted? Me personally, I think so. But I think he will die because of his involvement, and to send a message to Mon Mothma that she's playing a very dangerous game here. I think he'll be the downfall for her, for her getting him involved. How about you guys?
Yeah, there's a difference between having strong opinions on how the Empire is handling stuff and also trying to overthrow it. Like, there's a difference. And I don't think he's probably totally ready for what is going to have to happen. So I'm right with you. I think we can trust him. I think he'll do his best, but I don't think he's going to make it.
Yeah, me too. I was looking at him and just going, oh boy, um, what did you get yourself into? Because yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, there's a big difference between being unhappy with the way things are, and maybe gingerly saying how much you'd like for things to change, versus like actually getting involved, and that will be it. That will be it, and maybe that will be the one of the things that that pushes Mon Mothma over the edge, because a childhood friend like dying because of you know of a cause like this would definitely trigger you. So I think you know I'm hoping and praying that he does make it out alive, but again, it doesn't look like it. Oh, I felt so bad for him.
Yeah, as Beyond the Night says here, he is a goner for sure.
Oh no.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts, Trey? Maybe Trey.
He's so stunned.
He's so stunned.
Goes in
Absolutely.
the testing. Can you
Yes.
hear me?
Yeah, we
Hello,
can
hi.
hear you.
You good? Okay. Yeah. Well, no, I was like thinking, like I'm talking and no one's like addressing.
Oh.
Clearly, connection dropped. No, I know. No one was like interrupting me or anything. I was like trying to answer you guys' questions, but yeah, no, I agree. I think, yeah, I think he's gonna die in the end, and sadly, it's gonna be at Mon Mothma's, own, not her doing, but like she's gonna put him in those crosshairs for sure, and he's gonna be made an example of, and which I think is just gonna push her a little further. I mean, it probably will be her husband that turns him in. And I think that could just propel that situation a little forward even quicker. Now, one scene that was kind of fun to watch was Deidre's advancement in the Imperial forces of the ISB. Major, I think, what's his name? Major is like Partagaz, I think is his name. He's having a briefing with everyone, and I love that he's catching on to Deidre, like she's paying attention to some close details about what's going on. And he likes that she's not leaving any stone unturned like the other officer is. And in a way, it's able to advance her faster and further. And, but he kind of warns her. He's like, watch your ass on this one. People are gunning for you now because you pissed a lot of people off in this meeting. He's like, but I like where your head's at. I like what you're looking into. Do you think now? I guess here's a two-part question. One, do you think this is going to be her downfall? Do you think the other officers are going to tear her down to where, I don't know if she loses, dies, or anything? I personally think she's the insider in the ISB that Luthen has. Because I think the fact that she's the least expected person and seems to be really at the forefront of researching and investigating the rebels, because of that, I think she's the least expected to be the spy among them. What's your thoughts?
First of all, she was awesome. Just he calls her out and it's like, all right, let's do it. And in the end, he sides with her and not the other guy. So I thought that was a really awesome scene. And I think I understand where you're coming from. I really don't think it's her.
Okay.
It would be really interesting if it was the other guy. And that's why he's trying to take her down so badly, because he's seeing how she's catching on to stuff. And he's like, oh, shit, she's kind of putting two and two together. I got to try to get her out of here.
Interesting.
But I think she's a really cool character. And I'll say it, the last couple of, we saw it in Obi-Wan. We see it with Andor. Star Wars is killing it with female characters lately. Like, they've been my favorite. throughout a bunch of these shows. Like I care about these characters more than I kind of care about Andor right now, like Cassian. Like, and she's super fascinating, and she's kind of fun to watch, and she's just so like serious, but the way she just shot that dude down, and like was like, "Oh, you're gonna come for me? Well, I'm gonna show you what I got," and she wins. And so, Oracle says just not right. That's why I brought up Obi-Wan and Andor. But I thought it was a super awesome scene, and I could definitely see where you're coming for, Trey, but I'm wondering if it's the other dude instead.
The other way around. I like it. Me just watching so much Scooby-Doo, it's always the person that tries to help or you think is like on your side. That's why I think she's the one. But how about you, Retro? What's your thoughts?
To be honest, I thought she was earlier, working for the rebellion, but now I have doubts. And I have doubts. I don't know for sure. I can't really read her that much. I mean, the only thing I would say, I mean, I have the same exact feelings about Deidre as you do, Arkandians. I like her so much. And the actress playing her is just doing a fantastic job. The writing for her is really good. We don't know anything about her, and I don't know if we need to. And so that's kind of like, I want to know if her motivation really is rising amongst the ranks and, becoming a better officer, or being best of the best, or, rising amongst the ranks of Imperial officers, or is it because she really hates the rebels, or working for, like, I don't have a real motivation for her. Just know that she's doing a good job or doing her job the best she can. But I don't know why she's doing extra. Why is she going the extra mile to do this? But either which way, I like this kind of detective work that she's doing, where she's like, okay, she's trying to piece together all of these parts, and it's looking like it's forming into something. And I think that's something new for Star Wars. I just haven't seen a lot of that, where we're getting someone to actually put the puzzle pieces together in front of us. So I love that about that character. Yes, I don't know if she's good or bad. I still can't imagine. But, I didn't look at that guy to see if maybe, I didn't get any inkling of that, her opposing the opposing officer, if he was, a bad, if he could have been one of the rebel spy. You're right. He has been opposing her the whole way, and kind of gatekeeping all of his sectors,
Yeah.
and doesn't want anybody to see what's going on. So if people start to see what's going on in his sector, perhaps he has something to reveal. Wouldn't be surprised if, they both go into an elevator and only one comes out.
Yeah. So some interesting things right there. I like that. Yeah, I agree, Trevor. Yeah. How about you, Super Bro?
I'm on Or's side here. I've been wondering for a while. He's like very protective of his sector, and doesn't want people looking in. And you would think, anybody who could provide assistance, and she's kind of in a different realm of things too, where she's looking at like loss prevention type stuff too. So you would think that they would have like joint partnerships in the Empire side of things, where they'd be working together, and he is very adamant about her not messing with anything in his sector. So I've been wondering for a little bit as well. that too.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. I like that. It's so fascinating. I feel like, in a way, because Deidre is such a great character, that's why they might switch it up on us, because I think a lot of us are just enjoying how this actress is playing this role, and we would almost like to keep rooting for her in a way.
Oh no, I want her to be ruthless.
Oh, really? see, Super Corey's just like savagery. Go for it.
Yes.
But very interesting for sure. And I like what Red Hooded Outlaw brought up here, that clearly the Imperial forces are all on edge. Look at the one guy Deidre spoke to for records. Yeah, like the fact that she's like, I want you to keep this confidential. Like, don't leak this to anyone. That's what also kind of made me go more into my theory. But I just thought it was interesting that even that, like, the Imperial forces, man, everyone is just afraid to just have their head chopped off. Maybe it's the rumors of Darth Vader force choking, a lieutenant here and now and then, but
The
I don't
dude
know.
was also
Clearly no one
sleeping
feels
on
safe.
the job as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh my gosh. Now to get back to Cassian, he is on this, I don't know, this like vacation world of, I think they call it Niamos.
Trey, I got a question.
Yes, sir.
The music that plays when we're transitioning to that scene, wasn't that just the worst?
No!
I hated it.
Or are you talking about the EDM music?
Yeah.
I loved it.
I'll be honest with you. I have thoughts about it. Like, part of me is like, that feels so on Star Wars. Like, I just don't even know what to.
Completely different from the whole theme of the show. I was like listening to it and I was like, I'm not a music guy, but this is terrible.
Nope, dance party time.
I don't know if I. No, I mean. Oh dear. Yep, Orcabees, and there he is. He's done. It's a very cool score. I think the composer has done some really cool stuff with just this entire show. I think I'm spacing his name. I think it's like Nicholas something. I think it's like Nicholas Britell. Yeah, Nicholas Britell. And I don't know much of his work, but when he does the opening credits, I always pay attention because that kind of tells me like what's going to happen tone wise in the show. Because he switches it up every now and then. You'll notice that he'll add drums if it's going to be like a, kind of tenseful show or maybe even action packed. And then there's moments when he like takes it back down a bit. And that kind of tells me, oh, this is going to be more of a character development, slower show. And so far that's been pretty true. But yeah, that whole Niamos EDM score is kind of, it felt like a Blade Runner thing going on.
Well, I thought it felt like Miami Beach, It was like,
Me too.
And
Yes.
yeah, and I think
Miami
that's exactly
Vice,
what they were going
going
for. It was supposed to be this party plan. I mean, clearly here he is. We get another kind of aftermath sex scene in Star Wars, which still feels weird to me. Like, seeing that
take long, right? He shows up as like, hey, yo, what's up?
And honestly, it's very much like the best way I can explain the show is like Blade Runner and James Bond Star Wars show. It's kind of it just has that. Sorry, go ahead.
I was also thinking of Lost in Paradise from The Fifth Element.
Yeah. Oh man, that is perfect. Yeah, absolutely. And clearly here he is. He has his money now. He's kind of enjoying life a little bit, trying to lay low. He's going under another name, which I think I'm totally spacing what it was. It was like Cliff or something.
Grado or something like that.
Yeah. Keith, and clearly he's trying to avoid any attention, but he's also super paranoid on this plane. He sees that kind of the continued ramblings of the rebellion and the inspiration that he's caused over on Aldhani. You're starting to see people kind of be a little more rowdy and like saying screw the Empire, but he's also looking over his shoulder constantly, which is what tells this one stormtrooper to keep an eye on him. Which, guys, fun little Easter egg. Did anyone know who voiced that stormtrooper that stopped him?
Sounded familiar, but no.
No, nobody.
Mm-mm.
it is Sam. I think his name is technically is like Sam Whitaker, who did Darth Maul and the Force Unleashed games.
Oh,
yeah. He voiced that particular stormtrooper, and I know a lot of people were super excited to see this droid. They've been kind of waiting for this droid to pop up ever since Rogue One, but K2SO, this was not him. And there's one detail that you can tell when this K2SO like droid appears is this droid had a red stripe and K2SO has a yellow stripe on his armor. So that's why it's not the same one. But clearly they were trying to hint at maybe us eventually seeing K2SO. And I loved that interaction when the stormtrooper tells him like, hey, hang on to this dude while I go check these people out, and the droids calculations of how to answer that order was just like, oh, okay, like literally hold on to the dude and make him hang. Such an awesome scene. But we kind of talked about this earlier with the whole trial, or I guess sentencing hearing, as someone put it, wasn't even really a trial. They just basically said, oh bro, like you're being weird. You're going to jail for 6 months.
Go straight to jail.
Yeah. You're going to jail for 6 months. Wait, no, you're a tourist? 6 years. Go take it up with the Emperor. Thoughts on how the Empire handles their judicial system?
Hold up a second, Chair. I didn't take it that they punished him more because he's a tourist.
Well, I know, but he that's what Cassie was saying. Like, oh, like I'm not even from here. I was just being a tourist.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, cool. What was your guys' thoughts on the whole judicial system?
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about earlier. It was just an overreaction, and she even says, this used to be a 6-month sentence, and then boom, 6 years. And so it just shows how quickly and how little you have to do for them to basically ruin your life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Absolutely. How about you, Retro?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of sad, and a lot of places are actually like that all over the world, where if you are arrested, you have very little rights. Mm-hmm. And luckily, in America, it's a little bit better. But there are some places where if you're arrested, you're at their whim, whatever they decide. So yeah, it's I'm curious as to how he's going to get out. And that whole thing, it's just sort of again talking about the social climate, the social political climate of the galaxy, and how unfair it is to average folks, and how the reason why a rebellion is needed, to make these changes, to change the unfairness.
Yeah, absolutely. How about you, Super Bro?
Can they post bail in the Empire? Like how does one,
How does one actually, chalk it up to the Emperor and say, bro, this is bullshit?
Yeah, or like how much money does it cost to get, sure in that sense. No, it just shows that, they're not playing games no more, that a little petty theft crime or a little just walking down the street the wrong way, they're going to lock you up because we, suspect you may be up to something. So you don't have any rights here. You're in the Empire's rule, and we rule with an iron fist. So deal with it, sucker.
Yeah. And in a way, sorry, go ahead.
And I also wonder now if he's lost all his money or all the things that he has. I know he had that box that he had hiding. So I don't know if he's lost all his belongings now.
I mean, his lady could have taken it too, you know. I mean, who knows if she was, you know, not a lady of the night or, you know, just some girl he met. But then again, he's a charming guy. Maybe he's, you know, I don't know. But it is, yeah, I'd be curious to see what happened to his 200,000 credits, or at least somewhere around there. But maybe it happened at a good time to where, you know, obviously he's being hunted by the rebels to keep Luthen's name clear and tie up some loose ends. So maybe that's how he's going to be able to break out, or maybe he's going to meet someone in there. It'll be interesting to see. Do you guys have any theories on that, of who he's going to meet in jail, or the potential of how he's going to get out?
I think that's where he's going to meet K2SO. That's my guess. So maybe that's where we meet him, and that's how he gets out, is through him.
Okay, K2SO. How about you, Retro?
Yeah, I mean, when I saw those robots, I was like, "Oh, this is how he meets that character," and that's totally possible. But I think I mean, if you were craving action, I think it's coming. That's got to be one heck of a scene of him escaping prison.
Yeah, I imagine that's going to be a fun one to watch. However they handle it, you know, whether it's kind of like that great Clint Eastwood film, Escaping from Prison, or Escape Plan, you know, with Sylvester Stallone. Who knows? But yeah, could be interesting there. How about you, Super Bro?
Han Solo, maybe.
You just want Red Hood Outlaw said Han Solo. Hey man, that'd be cool. Wait, well, if it's Han Solo, then Chewie would be with him at that point.
That'd be yeah, I'd be down for that, but probably not going to happen. Yeah, I don't know who. We'll see, or how he'll get out. Maybe a favors called in by Luthen, or people who are keeping an eye out on him, or as well. So
interesting,
we'll
or maybe someone that's with Saw Gerrera's group. You know that because we know from the trailers at some point Saw Gerrera is going to meet up with Andor and really kick off this whole thing that ties it to Rogue One. But yeah, it'll be interesting.
But there's also that guy Cyril. And I was wondering if he was going to play into the escape.
Surreal.
Yeah, because he's just sort of. I don't know. Could you guys? Did you guys figure out what his job was at this place?
He's handling something with fuel. I know it's something. The bureau the standards bureau that he's working at really handles with numbers and calculations and stuff like that. And clearly they're pretty involved, and they have access to a lot of the records because they're able to erase some of his previous history about his pre-more security, why he was fired. But man, I was saving him for the very end because I have some hot takes about Cyril Karn.
Okay, I'll keep my questions.
Oh no, you're good. I think we can have a good discussion here about Cyril Karn. I feel like his character has been so pointless these last few episodes that clearly they're going to have to set him up in a way where he's just going to be more involved, but not only that, be a character that we actually care about, because he has shown us a side of Star Wars that I feel like we shouldn't have even seen or worried about. Hey mom, I lost my job. Can I move back in? And now his mom's bugging him about getting a job while he's eating cereal nonstop. You know? How
dare you? That is cereal sales, buddy.
Cereal sales, yeah. And he's always tailoring his suit because he wants to look important. And to me, he's looking out the window and he's looking up because I think he has this aspiration to excel, to be important, which is why I'm constantly thinking this guy's going to blow up at some point. He's going to be the bad of the bad. And I think where we're going to get with that is his job. He's looking at all the details, looking at all the numbers for the Empire, right? I think he's the one that's going to be able to figure out the rebellion, the one that figures out the details that no one's paying attention to, and that he's going to be the one that finds the ISB spy that Luthen has, because I think he wants to get Cassian too. A lot of people have theories that he's going to join the rebellion, but I see him being pissed off at Cassian for being the reason why he's lost his status, the reason why he lost his first mission. I think he wants to get him. But I just truly feel like these last few episodes with him have been just so like filler, like minutes to add to the show that like I just didn't need to see him constantly sitting down eating cereal, getting yelled at his mom, because it kind of just like takes you out of the, I guess the, not so much the fantasy of Star Wars, but it just kind of puts it in like a weird place where like, what are you trying to tell us by this character other than his mom, doesn't really care about him, or at least not in the way that she's not really supportive and just wants him to get off his ass and do something. But here he is, he's kind of looking at the numbers and he looks up and it's kind of like, here I am, I'm down in the slumps once again, starting out, but trying to rise up to something grander. And I think he's only going to be able to do that if he figures out how to get the rebellion, how to figure out Luthen. What's your guys' thoughts?
I think that's the point of him. I think he's supposed to be boring. And I think he's supposed to take us out of it. And I think he's supposed to like put us in like a lull so that when he does have his aha moment and he blows up, that it's shocking and surprising and
complete 180 of the character.
It makes it bigger. And then I think he's going to die like a loser. Just like how Corey said my boy Nemec died like a loser, your guy's going to die like a loser. I think he's going to have this aha moment.
Whoa, how is he my guy?
He's your guy.
No.
You're over here defending
He's trying
him.
to say you're the boring one,
No, you're over here defending him while Trey's calling him boring. He's going to have an aha moment. He's going to have his blow up. He's going to think, all right, this is the thing that gets me back on the good side. And then he falls off a cliff, or something's gonna happen. Where
I'll make a bet right now that
so
he's gonna have a
that's
grander death than your boy.
My man went out like a real hero.
I do agree with you.
I still think him fighting through death to get him those coordinates and fly out of that eye is the best scene in the show so far.
Damn.
What's the over-under that Surreal Karn chokes on some of his cereal?
It's gonna be something so stupid.
God, if that is the case, then that will be a major like negative on the show, because I just have this belief that like they made him such a big part of the first couple of episodes, and trying to like, when you think about it, he was the first one that was kind of like, no, there's something going on here. We need to like show our power. We need to take them down. So that's why I think he's just going to. There's a darkness in him and a savagery and a brutality to him that we just haven't quite seen yet. And I feel like the fact that we just keep seeing him kind of, life is unextraordinary, it's boring, and I'm just tailoring my suit and living day-to-day life. Oh, this is the work life in the Star Wars galaxy. That if this is really just where his character goes, which tells me there has to be something more, there has to be something huge that makes us think all these minutes that we're spending with him in his day-to-day life are worth it, to see this transformation.
I agree. And he's going to have those moments, and it's going to be huge. And then he's going to
choke on a cereal bar,
stub his toe on the train while he's getting out. And then Daedra, who's an actual badass, is going to do something about the things that he found out about.
I think he's going to find out that Daedra is the plant.
Ooh.
That's my theory.
It's gonna be something. I think the reason we are seeing this, what seems like pointless filler, it's a reason. They're not doing it just to waste time. I think there has to be a reason for it, and I think it's just to put us in a lull so that when he does have his aha moment, it's huge.
Because I think whatever he's gonna find, he's going to use for his advancement. To propel himself forward. I think he is really self-centered and only cares about, it's kind of like his mom said, like, you're trying to prove yourself, and I mean, she's looking at him like he's a loser, but I think because of that mentality that his mom puts on him, he he has no care but himself. How about you, Retro? What's your thoughts on Surreal Karn these last few episodes?
Well, I kind of agree with all the statements. Absolutely. I trust the writers at this point that they're building up to something because they've been doing really good so far. So I trust them. I just, since now we've got Deidre in this position where she has access to all of this information that she didn't have before, she can find out something went down in his sector, okay? Because she didn't have access before. And maybe she'll interview him or get in touch with him. And those two getting together might be the thing that kind of like creates a lot of tension for the rebellion, like having someone right on their butt saying like, we know what you did and we're, here's the retaliation. We're taking all of you down, starting from the top all the way to the bottom with Mon Mothra and Luthen right there. So, and the banker. This could be very interesting. He has access to records and all sorts of different records now. So that could be helpful as well. Like maybe he's the one to monitor all the money being transferred out of Mon Mothra's bank account. And maybe he's the one to identify certain areas where credits are, suddenly showing up in places. I think this is weaving itself into maybe a network of Imperial people kind of coming together, a meeting of the mind, if you will, to try to take down the rebellion, but are ultimately unsuccessful. So I'm excited by this. This is exciting because it could go so many ways, and there's so many possibilities. But we're being set up for whatever they're going to do with it. We can see possibilities. So when these things start to happen, where we are going to be like, okay, that makes sense in the story. I think it's a very smart script that they've put together, and I'm really excited by what they have planned for us. So I trust the script. I trust what they've written.
I agree. I think they are setting up something. And as kind of Oracle said here, it's just taking longer. And I would like personally with his character, because every other character I'm like really enjoying and kind of like can't wait to have more revealed about him. I'm kind of like, dude, why do we not like know yet? Just like speak. Talk a little more words, like getting yelled at by your mom. Get a job, for God's sakes.
Does he? I think he's. I'm waiting for him too. Like I trust the writing as well. I'm liking it because the vibes that I'm getting is he's gonna freaking snap here soon.
Yeah.
He hates his mom. He got fired. He's going into like I'm almost wondering like if he kills his mom, goes complete psycho on us.
I was wondering that too. I was totally thinking he's gonna kill his mom, and that's the point of snapping.
Yes, he's the wild card in all of this. Like we don't know what he's going to do, and he could just lose it. And I would be completely here for it.
Me too.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm so glad you also caught that, Craig, because I almost forgot about it. But I remember watching the episode and being like, this dude's gonna kill his mom. He's gonna strangle her to death, and that's gonna be the moment we just know that this guy is not right in the head anymore.
The only reason he hasn't yet is because he needs a few more boxes of cereal. So
yeah, he's just like, hey, before you go, he's like, what do you mean? He's like, I need you to go to Starco and get me some boxes, lifetime supply of blue milk cereal, some blue puffs. Yeah, absolutely. So guys, as we kind of come to the end, that's where this episode ends with Surreal looking up from his office desk
Can I say I want that desk, bro?
It is a pretty
Like
legit desk.
Why don't we have that yet? You know, little cubicles by yourself. You know, just chilling and working on two computers like
Just
that.
a little something, right?
Yeah.
What would you rate this episode?
8.2.
Okay.
Which is higher than most of the episodes that I've done. Not as good as last episode, which is, that was going to happen. But I feel like we've gotten a lot of, we knew that this was going to be a reaction episode, and I thought it was pretty good.
Okay. How about you, Retro?
Oh gosh, I feel like a jerk because it's going to be so low.
Ooh. Oh. Just do it. Rip it off like a bandit.
7.7.
That's not bad. When you said low, I was thinking like you were going to cut it under 5,
Yeah.
So I feel like anything above a 6 is acceptable for this episode. You're either going to be like, I don't think anyone's going to say it was a bad episode, but I think for some people it's going to be slow, and for others it's going to be, oh my God. Orc, I just noticed your hashtag. Surreal jokes on cereal. Super Bro, how about you?
Yeah, no, I think I'm going to rate it. Oh man, did I give the last episode like an 8.1, 8.7, something like that?
I thought you were a high 8, or no, I thought it was like a 9.1, wasn't it?
Was I 9.1?
I think so. I think you were a 9.
I think this one I have to give it, I'm thinking, I'm probably leaning towards 7, 9 area, 8, around there.
7, 9.
Yeah, 7, 9.
Oh, okay. You went lower than I thought you were going to go. I'm about where Orc and Beans is. Like, I think I'm around like an 8.2, 8.3. I'll give it the benefit of the doubt, and I'll do an 8.3. Just because I really did, like kind of like Oracle said here, I loved seeing the reaction from the Empire and seeing how this first really attack on them affected them, and how now even it's gathered the attention of the Emperor, and the Emperor's calling for action.
You want to know the only reason I probably am just under an 8 now that I'm kind of like reanalyzing my score after you said it's lower than you were expecting it?
Yeah.
I didn't watch Andor until this morning, and but I saw the thumbnail you created last night with Emperor Palpatine, so I went into this episode looking for Emperor Palpatine, and when they just talked about him, that kind of bummed me out.
So Corey's just pissed off because my thumbnail. I apologize, Corey. I just felt like the fact that this was the first time
false advertisement
we heard them talk about the Emperor, and that I think Orc and Beans is right. I think we'll see the Emperor Palpatine show up at the Senate hearing that he's having. I think
it'll be some form. I don't know if we're gonna actually see him there.
I want to so bad,
but it's gonna be some form. I don't know if a projection.
I can't go another episode without seeing him.
Oh my God!
Well, if we don't see Corey on another Delta Squad stream, that's why.
We know why, because Corey's like, nope, no thanks. That's it, folks. Interesting, very, very interesting. I think what's the audience saying? Where are they feeling?
Let me see here. All right. We have an 8.4 from Trevor H, an 8.6 from Bat Fanatic, 8.1 from hashtag Restore the Sniper Sky, 8.8 from Oracle's Clock Tower. Love the reaction. 8.3 from Red Hooded Outlaw, and an 8.1 from Beyond the Night.
It's probably safe to assume that Savage probably said 9.
Yeah.
He's been 9 for every episode.
Honestly, yeah. Savage probably was a 9.
This is the best.
This is the best Star Wars I've ever seen. Seriously. Right? Savage has been really enjoying it, and that makes me happy because a lot of people haven't been enjoying the show. I think everyone's been saying solid writing, but slow pacing and not Star
Yeah.
Wars has kind of been the main things I've heard.
He's actually has helped me some enjoy the show even more, because his thoughts and feelings about it, as well as like his excitement is contagious as well for it too. So missed the Savage Bath this time.
Well, we'll definitely get his thoughts on the next episode, which episode 8 comes out October 26th, along with Tales of the Jedi, which I guess they're just dumping all, I think, what was it, 6 episodes, but they're like about 10 minutes long each, which is kind of sad that they're super short. But me personally, I can't wait for the Tales of the Jedi, because it really looks like they bring in that clone. Yeah, 10-minute episodes, 10-minute shorts.
What?
Yeah, dude, 10-minute shorts.
Some
are like 14 minutes, but
I kind of like it. I am sick of this 45, 50-minute episode stuff. Like every show is. I just recently, Rachel and I just finished The Bear on Hulu, and they were 20-minute episodes, and it was awesome.
Okay.
Because like you could just sit, watch a few episodes. Like if you don't have a ton of time, you're just trying to, eat dinner right before bed or something like that. Like,
yeah,
I'm tired of all of these 40, 50-minute episodes, so I don't mind it being short.
Millennial, you.
Well, no, I'll agree to some of that, because I think Andor would have benefited more if they didn't do such long episodes each episode, especially for the filler episodes. Like the filler episodes just need to be like 30 minutes, if even, because some of them are just drag a little too long and don't really give us too much in depth about the characters. And I mean, like I said, Surreal Karn, like his episodes probably could have been, or scenes could have been cut back a little bit, because too many times have we seen his mom yell at him while he's eating blue cereal. But we'll see where that goes. Maybe it leads to something great, and I hope it does. If
that brown suit was terrible.
You didn't like the brown suit?
No.
What are you wearing right now? Is that gray or brown?
It's great.
Okay.
The brown suit is important because it was supposed to be stylistically.
Look at that collar, though. What's up with that collar, son?
Look important.
Because I want people to look at me. She's right. It is a look at me collar. Look at me, damn it.
Look at me collar.
I feel like you're kind of you're a surreal shill.
Now, also, I'm wearing flip flops, so
there you go.
You're wearing socks, though.
Star Wars blanket, stormtrooper helmet looking at you. You all set. The brown suit was actually done on purpose to look kind of like the Nazi suits.
Like shit?
Well, or that. Or you could, maybe shitty character. No, I'm just kidding. But yes, we'll be doing our Tales of the Jedi review next week. We'll make it separate from our Andor breakdown. But we'll figure out everyone's schedule to see with that. But as always, guys, I like to roll out the red carpet for my fire panel that we've had today. Mr. Orkin Beans, hashtag I love Surreal, hashtag I dress like him too. What you got coming on?
So I'm over on Twitch at Orkin Beans 14. I totally missed it, but October 8th was my 1 year on Twitch.
What?
Totally missed it. So yeah, I've been over.
Congrats, buddy.
I've been over there doing the thing, and then the biggest thing to look forward to is next month I'm gonna try to do a pretty long birthday stream. So look out for that.
Ooh. I can't wait for that. That's gonna be fire.
Yeah.
So 1 year. 1 year.
1 year on Twitch, and he's taking it over. Just so don't even waste time. Subscribe. If you don't have a Twitch, make a Twitch. It's as simple as that.
It's free to follow me.
Yep.
Oh, Trey's frozen again.
Oh, don't mess with me. You're so full of it. Retro Durgo, what you got going on?
Well, first of all, I want to say congratulations to a year. That's really awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me on. My next, I will be dropping a video tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Central Time. So I'm really excited about that. And I might be doing some more live streams in November, so look out for that. You can follow me on Twitter. I probably will be posting on when my next live streams are going to be. So
Fantastic. That's
Keep
gonna
an
be
eye out.
some live streams from the Retro Nerd Girl. That's gonna be fire, guys.
Yeah, it won't be my channel. I'll be visiting other channels.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I see what you're saying.
Not yet. Yeah, I'm trying to get things set up for my own live streams eventually, but I'm not there yet.
Super cool. I still that's gonna be exciting. I mean, it's been awesome to see you retro on all these different panels, just giving your takes. And guys, she has one of the best movie review channels ever. So seriously, if you have not checked out her YouTube channel, you need to, because the production even is phenomenal. Like, and you just look at things like I think Zodwriter said it best on a show that you did with him, where like you feel like you've watched a movie plenty of times, and then all of a sudden you watch one of your reviews and you're like, oh my God, I didn't look at it that way. Or I didn't know that's what they meant by that. But it's like, you feel like all of a sudden out of those 20 times that you watched the film, you haven't watched it once. And that's what I love about it, is because you learn something new every time you watch one of your reviews. So
thanks,
check it out.
guys. I appreciate that. That's so sweet.
Absolutely. Well, guys,
Yes.
what's that? Sorry?
I just said thank you.
Oh yeah, no worries. It's absolutely our pleasure, and I can't thank you guys for both being here with us today for this awesome Andor episode 7 breakdown with the Delta Squad. Make sure you guys follow all these amazing people: Orchid Beans 14 on Twitch, the Retro Nerd Girl on YouTube, and I guess the Super Bro channel, is becoming a thing now. But guys, I just want to say thank you so much. Hit that like, hit that share button. Get all your friends in our shows for the future chats we do, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. I can't tell you how important that is. It just is. Okay, so just do it. But thank you so much. I am your host, Trey, with
Orchid Beans 14
and
Retro Nerd Girl.
and
Super Bro Corey.
And this is the Super Bro channel.
The
Never
Super Bro
going back
channel.
to the Bat channel.
Never again. Not
Don't forget
once.
to tune in weekly.
Same bat time.
Same Super Bro Bat channel.
Come on, Cody. Dance, baby.
and the stream and the damn stream.
Dance, Cody.
We did the outro.